Beer. How much would you be willing to pay for a beer at the ballpark? $6, 8, 10? Well, what if it was 10 cents? That happened in Cleveland 40 years ago this week when one such promotion went terribly wrong. Here's Bob Golick to present this week's SportsCenter featured story presented by Verizon.
Hey everybody, my name is Bob Golick. Now, you might know me as a three-time Pro Bowler who played here at Cleveland, the old Cleveland Municipal Stadium. You might know me as Mike Rogers, the RA, and Saved by the Bell. And you also might recognize me as this guy's older brother, his muse, his inspiration, the man who taught him everything. Now, I'm here to tell you about three things that I love: Cleveland, sports, and beer. Now, when I was growing up, Cleveland made the national news a couple of times. Once in 1969, the Cuyahoga River caught fire because of pollution. 3 years later, our mayor, Ralph Perk, his hair caught fire. Hell, everything was catching fire, except the Indians. They weren't that good. On May 29, 1974, the Indians lost a road game to the Texas Rangers. That game included a bench-clearing brawl and Arlington fans throwing beer and food at our Indians. Now, after the game, Rangers manager Billy Martin said he didn't worry about retribution in Cleveland because, quote, they don't have enough fans there to worry about. 6 days later, June 4th, 1974, there'd be a magical convergence of forces that would draw fans who wanted to stick it to Martin and the Rangers. 10-cent beer night.
For $1, you could get a ticket in the bleachers for 50 cents and 5 beers. It was cheaper than the bar.
Since you're able to drink at 18, that brought a whole different and a younger crowd to the stadium.
Half the fans that were going to be there were there for the beer, not the game.
Now, I was only 16 and I couldn't drink, so why go to the game? But we had over 25,000 fans willing to spend pocketfuls of dimes before the first pitch was even thrown. 12 ounces of cheap beer was about to start 9 innings of trouble.
There was the woman who flashed the crowd with her shirt up, and then the guys who ran across the field, a father and son team, and they dropped their drawers and mooned the crowd.
A woman had come out to try to kiss Nestor Shylock, the umpire. I remember one guy jumping out of the third base stands with his clothes in his hands.
I'll never forget, he tried to get over the fence, and he had no 2 black socks, and when he came down, the cop had one sock in his hand and the other sock was on the guy's foot.
By the third inning, the bleachers were loaded, literally. And trouble was a-brewing at the beer trucks that were brought in for the occasion.
They were just clearly understaffed. They had 2 girls working that. One was collecting the money and one was trying to pour the beers, and it just wasn't working. The tensions were rising, and they picked up one of the tables and just threw it right over the truck. And her and the other girl just walked away and left the truck there.
We just start filling up our own containers. And some people flip the handle of the tap and just let it flow right into their mouths.
By the 5th or 6th inning, there were 15 or 20 people jumping out of right field stands and 20 or 30 people jumping out of left field stands and running back and forth in between innings.
The first half of the game, frankly, we're having a great time laughing at all those antics, but suddenly it started to get serious. They started throwing cherry bombs into the Rangers' dugout.
This has been a night of blatant stupidity.
I must have had probably 15 or 20 pounds of hot dogs thrown at me playing first base. The one memorable thing I had thrown at me was an empty gallon jug of Thunderbird wine. I thought this is not all fun and games now. It's kind of gotten a little past a serious stage.
These kids were so drunk, the game really was not important.
Well, the fans might not have cared, but the team still did. The Indians had come from a 5-1 deficit to tie things up in the bottom of the 9th. But the beer fog had grown too thick. It was a powder keg full of designated drunks about to blow. One inebriated Indian fan lit the match when he came at Rangers outfielder Jeff Burroughs from the bleachers.
I just wanted to get his hat. So I ran up behind Jeff Burroughs and I had it in my hand, and then I dropped it. And so I went down to pick it up, and I looked up, and he looked at me, and I said, oh, hell. He kicked me right in the thigh, and he stumbled in from the kick, and then the fans just really started pouring in.
Now there's another group of morons running around in the outfield.
Billy Martin said that he thought that Burroughs had been knocked down, and so he gets a bat and says, boys, let's go get him. And then the Rangers are defending themselves against this mob coming in.
Now it's a full-scale riot. There has to be 200 people and more coming on the field.
Had it not been for the Indians players coming out to help us, it'd been a real tragedy.
Hargrove has got some kid on the ground, and he is really administering a beating. That fella came up and hit him from behind is what happened.
One of the Indians players, Tom Hilgendorf, got hit with a piece of a chair.
Oh, this is absolute tragedy. I have never seen anything as disgusting as this. I haven't either.
With punches thrown, bottles flying, and 3 bases stolen, umpire Nestor Chilak took a chair to the head, stopped the game, and declared a forfeit for the Rangers. With the 50 security personnel overwhelmed, the Cleveland SWAT team was happy to pinch hit and finish the game their way.
We had riot sticks with us. We had to swing them. We had to use force sometimes.
I remember the tear gas they threw in there. That got control of the situation.
They turned the lights out. Everybody's gone except for 15 teenagers standing on top of the Rangers dugout, chanting for the Rangers to come out and fight. And so I went up there and asked them, what do you want trying to prove? Because the Rangers are gone. So some kid behind another one reaches out and punches me right in the jaw. He didn't even stagger me. He hit like a girl.
So all told, there were 9 arrests, numerous injuries caused by the melee, and the 3 bases stolen by the fans never were returned. So what do we learn from this? Well, an organist playing Take Me Out to the Ball Game will not calm an angry mob. People can change. Terry Yurkic, the 19-year-old who grabbed Burroughs' hat, grew up to become Citizen of the Year in Richmond Heights, a suburb 20 minutes outside of Cleveland. And 10-cent beer night is a bad idea. The Indians learned their lesson and swore never again. Nah, I'm just kidding. This is Cleveland, man. They tried it again a month later. I love this town.
The second beer night, there was 4 times the security at the game to prevent the 40,000 fans in attendance from repeating what happened in June. Each fan 18 or older was limited to 2 10-cent beer tickets.